Hello, everyone. When the roads are quiet, when I was doing rideshare, um, there were times where I would be on the road and it would be quiet. Not in the sense like there wasn't other individuals on the road, but it was like no traffic. Like let's say destination during the normal hours of the day would take me about let's say 40 minutes. The fact that the roads are quiet, it only took me about 15. Only 15. The only caveat was if I had to hop on the highway, because depending in DFW on the highway, they're doing construction around like 2, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, depending on where you're going. That would usually be the only hiccup. Sometimes it will be a little traffic, but let's say they weren't doing construction, then it would be easy money. So that was one of the beautiful things about doing ride share in the late hours of the night. Um, let's say you were an individual that is currently doing ride share, or pondering about doing ride share. Um, from a driving standpoint, or just an individual that rides. Now, if you go downtown, most likely in your city, um, like let's say on a Friday, Saturday, even some Thursday nights, like if you're in a college town, there may be some traffic, but around like 1, 2 in the morning, if most of your clients stay on the outskirts of the city, you won't really have any traffic. Now, the only thing that one would have to be on the eye for is, of course, cops. But the cops, they be out. They be out because they're doing their job and things of that nature. But they be out. The roads are really quiet. Around the late hours of the night, uh, especially outside of Friday and Saturday or any holiday. But it's easy sellings, and especially like when I would have a client in my car around that time, they would really most of them would sleep. Most of them would be quiet. I would be playing some music, preferably jazz, because the late night hour jazz is always good for me. Something I like to hear. And then when most individuals got into my vehicle when I was doing rideshare, they would give me compliments. Though I did have a few folks suggest that it would put them to sleep, and they asked me if it ever put me to sleep. And I was like, no, not really, because I created my own playlist and I listen to all the jazz musicians that I like. So, um, but yeah, outside of that, I think the jazz music, along with the roads being quiet while I was doing rideshare, just helped people to relax, unwind. Because when a client got into my back seat, I didn't ask them like a bunch of questions for the most part after speaking to them. I knew where I was going, so I wasn't reactive at all on the road. I knew where I was going again. I knew the shortcuts. I knew the back roads. So my main thing was just to get everyone there safe, me and of course the client. But yeah, if one is ever thinking about a time to be on the road to do ride share, between 1 and 4 in the morning, let's say between midnight and 4, I think that's a good time. But preferably around like 3 o'clock, from like 3 to 5, smooth sailings. So like if you like to speed, let's say I'm not an advocate for speeding, even though we all speed. Or if you're like you don't have the temper to be dealing with like a lot of people not knowing how to drive, driving slow, making the wrong turns. Again, it's smooth sailings. It's like you on the road. There's were times where I was taking clients to where they needed to go, and I was like, felt like I was on the road by myself. I remember I would hop on the highways and be flying, getting over in the fast lane, just flying, and look to my right, don't really see no cars, and to my left, I didn't really see no vehicles. Now sometimes I would see like some collisions, cops at the scene, cops pulling people over. I think you can win anyway. When it's that time of the hour, you can hop on the road, on the highway, excuse me, or you can take the back roads if you know the back roads. Now, if you take the back roads, 9 times out of 10, there may be a cop there, but also watch out for the motorcycle cops. I got pulled over one time by a motorcycle cop. This wasn't even at night though. That's a story for the future. Another video for the future. But yeah, like I said, you just have to really worry about the cops. Um, Depending on where you're at, you may have to worry about deers running in the road or animals or things like that. Now, if there's people on the road with you, you have to be concerned, as you know, of them jumping the lanes, cutting you off. There'll be some drunk drivers sometimes, depending on the situation, the day of the week. Also, you got to throw in the unknown, which is the weather. But mainly, for the most part, it's you by yourself. You can drive slow, you can drive fast. You can make a pit stop. Let's say you're doing ride share and then you drop a client off and you want to go get you a bite to eat. Let's say you want to stop into the QT for a moment or 7-Eleven just to get you some gas. And let's say you already picked up a ride, you can be in and out of there. Though, not I never experienced this with QT, but sometimes 7-Eleven, they'll be closed for like 10 minutes, like for having to change their register. Excuse me, or one may have to use the restroom, so they'll put the sign on the door. But with QT, I've never experienced that. QT, they usually have about two people in there doing what they're supposed to be doing, holding the store down. And so that's one of my favorite gas stations to go to. When I was doing ride share, even when I'm not, like, I don't do ride share currently, and I still enjoy going to QT. Um, yeah, smooth sailings. Yeah, the roads are quiet, and you all can tell me what you think. When you drive, even if you don't do ride share, tell me how you feel when you get on the road and there's a lot of people on the road. They don't know how to drive. They causing collisions, or they don't turn their signal on, or they getting mad or trying to speed, and they can't really control the flow of traffic. It's like, what are you speeding for? You're speeding just to get to the same light that I'm about to get to. It's crazy. And then think about it when you drive on the road and there's nobody on the road. You can just do what you want to do, all within the laws. Or you could risk it, breaking the law and see, if they stop you for speeding or something like that. But yeah, depending on where you at, you have no worries. And I believe outside of depending on the day of the week, around that time, the app was busy. So I took a lot of rides during those hours. And I think outside of the people just being out enjoying life, having a good time, or coming from work, I think one thing they liked about it, enjoyed about it, from what some shared with me at the time, was that driving home was smooth sailings. And they would even thank me and be like, "Yeah, one I hate working through the night, but one thing I like is that when I get off, no one's on the road. There's no morning traffic. There's nobody really working. There's no shenanigans." And on the way home, they would say, "Well, hey, how long you been doing it? It's real late, whoop-de-woo." And I would usually do between 8 and 12 at the time, and I let them know, and they would just chuckle and be like, "Man, you still up? You wide awake? You vibrant?" And the only thing that could really affect it in a positive way is the weather. Like if it's cold, let's say someone was hot, fatigue, you can just roll the window down, get the cool breeze. If you don't want to, if you're trying to conserve your gas, then if it's a hot summer night, you can roll the windows down too, and just taking the scenery, depending on where you're driving to, play your music different. Different weather brings out different types of emotions in most folks, put most people in a certain vibe and a certain feeling. Again, it's different if one is driving on the road and it's pouring down rain, rather one driving on the road and there's no rain at all. It just makes for a smooth, smooth ride, and all parties come out satisfied. So yeah, that's all for today. Just wanted to drop this for you all to let those that are currently doing ride share, or those that are pondering about doing ride share, or those that do ride share but do ride share from the standpoint, you just sit in the back and you let the driver take you where you need to go. That if you ever want to base your schedule or modify your schedule to where you don't have to deal with traffic, choose those hours between like 12 and 4 a.m. For the most part, it just be easy for you and even for the ride share driver. But yeah, like, share, and subscribe. Just give me your all's opinion. I hope you all have a great day and take care. Peace.